Why happiness feels so far away. There is a quiet exhaustion most people never talk about. It's the kind you feel even after a full night's sleep. The kind that settles into your chest when you smile for others, but feel empty when you're alone. The kind that makes you wonder, why does happiness seem so easy for everyone else, and so hard for me? If you've ever felt that way, you're not broken. You're human. And this audiobook exists for you. Welcome to Be Happy Every Day, even when life is hard. Not a fantasy, not toxic positivity, not the lie that says happiness means pretending everything is fine. This is about learning how to be steady when life is not, calm when the world is loud, grounded when everything feels uncertain. Because happiness isn't something you find one day, it's something you practice, especially on the days when life hurts. Most people think happiness disappears when life becomes difficult, but that belief is the reason so many people feel lost. They think happiness is a reward for success, a prize you earn after problems are solved, a destination you reach once life finally cooperates. But life doesn't work that way. Life gets messy, plans fall apart, people leave, health changes, dreams take longer than expected. If happiness depended on perfect conditions, almost no one would ever feel it. And yet, some people do. Not because their lives are easier, but because their relationship with life is different. They don't wait for happiness. They build it, quietly, daily, imperfectly. And that's what you're about to learn. This audiobook is not about avoiding pain. It's about learning how to live with it, without letting it destroy your peace. Because the truth is this: happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of inner stability. And that stability can be learned. Let's begin by clearing up the biggest misunderstanding of all. Happiness is not constant joy. If you believe happiness means feeling good all the time, you will always feel like you're failing. Because no one, not the strongest, not the wisest, not the most successful, feels happy every moment. Happiness is not constant excitement. It is not non-stop motivation. It is not smiling through pain. Real happiness is quieter than that. It feels like peace in the middle of chaos, acceptance in the middle of uncertainty, self-respect in the middle of struggle. It's the ability to say, "This is hard, but I can handle it." That sentence alone can change a life. Most people suffer not because life is difficult, but because they believe difficulty means something is wrong with them. But difficulty is part of being alive. The problem is not the storm. The problem is believing you were never meant to face one. Why your mind works against you. Your brain was designed to keep you alive, not happy. It scans for threats. It replays mistakes. It imagines worst-case scenarios. That's not weakness. That's survival programming. But when survival mode becomes your default, peace feels impossible. You overthink. You worry. You anticipate pain before it arrives. And slowly, happiness begins to feel unsafe. So your nervous system stays alert. Your mind stays tense. And joy feels fragile, like it could disappear at any moment. This audiobook will teach you how to gently retrain that system, not by forcing positivity, but by building emotional safety inside yourself. Because when you feel safe internally, happiness doesn't have to be chased. It shows up naturally. The lie that keeps people unhappy here is one of the most damaging beliefs people carry. I'll be happy when life gets better, when the job improves, when the money stabilizes, when the relationship works out, when the stress finally ends. But life doesn't stop challenging you once one problem is solved. There is always another level, another season, another uncertainty. So if happiness is postponed until life is easy, it will always be postponed. The people who are happiest are not waiting for life to calm down. They are learning how to calm themselves. That's the skill. And like any skill, it can be practiced. What this audiobook will give you. Over the next chapters, you will learn how to stop fighting your emotions and start understanding them. How to stay calm when life feels overwhelming. How to create joy without needing everything to be perfect. How to build habits that protect your mental peace. How to feel grateful without ignoring pain. How to find meaning even in difficult seasons. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming steady. Because when you are steady, happiness becomes accessible, even on hard days. A question to sit with. Before we go any further, ask yourself this. What if happiness isn't missing, but buried under pressure, expectations, and fear? What if you don't need a new life, just a new way of relating to the one you already have? That question matters, because everything that follows is built on one simple truth. Happiness is not a personality trait. It is a daily practice, and the next chapter begins with the most powerful practice of all, one that can change your emotional baseline in minutes a day, but only if you're willing to see your life differently. Chapter 2 begins with a shift that changes everything. Chapter 2. Happiness begins with acceptance, not control. Most people are exhausted because they are trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. They try to control outcomes. They try to control people. They try to control emotions. They try to control the future. And when life doesn't cooperate, which it never fully does, they blame themselves. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or quietly unhappy, it's not because you're weak. It's because you've been fighting reality, and reality always wins. But here's the truth that changes everything. Happiness does not come from controlling life. It comes from accepting life without surrendering yourself. There is a difference. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is grounding yourself in what is, so you can respond wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Most suffering begins the moment you say, "This shouldn't be happening." That sentence creates resistance, and resistance multiplies pain. Why acceptance feels so hard? Acceptance feels uncomfortable because your mind interprets it as danger. Your brain thinks, if I accept this, I'm saying it's okay. If I accept this, I'll stay stuck. If I accept this, nothing will change. But acceptance does not mean approval. It means honesty. It means saying, this is what I'm dealing with right now. Without judgment, without self-attack, without denial. And when you stop fighting what is, something remarkable happens. Your nervous system relaxes. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped telling yourself you were failing for experiencing difficulty. That relief alone can feel like happiness returning. The hidden cost of emotional resistance. Every time you resist an emotion, you add a second layer of suffering. Pain is unavoidable. Suffering is optional. Pain says, this hurts. Suffering says, this shouldn't hurt. What's wrong with me? That second sentence is where anxiety grows. You don't feel sad. You feel ashamed of being sad. You don't feel tired. You feel guilty for being tired. You don't feel lost. You feel broken for feeling lost. Happiness doesn't come from eliminating negative emotions. It comes from ending the war against them. How acceptance creates inner peace. Acceptance creates space. Space between stimulus and response. Space between feeling and meaning. Space between emotion and identity. When you accept an emotion, you stop becoming it. You don't say, I am anxious. You say, I'm experiencing anxiety. That small shift is powerful. Because emotions pass, they always do. But when you cling to them, or push them away, they linger. Acceptance lets them move through you instead of getting stuck inside you. A simple practice that changes everything. The next time a difficult emotion appears, sadness, frustration, fear, try this. Don't analyze it. Don't fix it. Don't distract from it. Just name it. Quietly say, this is sadness. This is frustration. This is fear. Then breathe. That's it. No story, no judgment, no timeline. You're not trying to feel better. You're letting yourself feel honestly. And honesty is calming. Why this is the foundation of happiness. You cannot build happiness on denial. You cannot build peace on resistance. Real happiness is built on emotional honesty, the ability to say, this is hard and I'm still okay. That sentence changes how your brain processes stress. It tells your nervous system, I'm safe, even when things are uncomfortable. And safety is the doorway to happiness. Not excitement, not success, safety. When you feel safe inside yourself, joy doesn't need permission. It arises naturally. You are not behind. If life feels heavy right now, hear this clearly. You are not late. You are not failing. You are not broken. You are human, navigating a world that demands too much and pauses too little. Acceptance is not weakness. It is the beginning of strength. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how to create small moments of happiness inside difficult days. Not by changing your circumstances, but by changing how you relate to them. This is where happiness stops feeling distant and starts feeling possible again. Chapter 3. Happiness is built in small moments, not big events. Most people wait for happiness to arrive in the form of something big. A promotion, a relationship, a vacation, a breakthrough moment where everything finally feels right. And while those moments can be joyful, they are rare. Life, however, is not lived in big moments. It is lived in ordinary ones. Quiet mornings, messy afternoons, long evenings where nothing dramatic happens. If happiness depends on major events, then most of life will feel like waiting. That's why so many people feel empty, even after they achieve what they once wanted. Because happiness was never meant to live only at the finish line. It lives in how you experience the middle. Why big happiness is unreliable. Big moments come with pressure. Pressure to enjoy them fully. Pressure to make them last. Pressure not to waste them. And that pressure often steals the joy. You've felt this before. You finally get something you wanted. And instead of peace, you feel anxiety. What if this doesn't last? What if I lose this? What's next? Happiness built on big moments is fragile. Happiness built on small moments is stable. The power of small, repeatable joy. Small moments don't ask for perfection. They don't demand the right timing. They don't require life to cooperate. They are available even on hard days. A deep breath that actually lands. A warm drink in your hands. A short walk without your phone. A moment of silence before the world speaks again. These moments seem insignificant until you realize they regulate your nervous system. And a regulated nervous system is the foundation of happiness. Why your brain misses these moments. Your brain is wired to scan for problems. That's useful for survival, but terrible for happiness. It means neutral moments get ignored. Calm moments go unnoticed. Peace feels invisible. So happiness doesn't disappear. It simply goes unregistered. Training happiness means training attention. Not forcing gratitude, not pretending everything is okay, just noticing when things are okay, even briefly. A daily practice that changes your mood. Once a day, pause and ask yourself, what feels okay right now? Not great, not amazing, just okay. Your breath, your body, your environment. That question gently pulls your mind out of crisis mode, and crisis mode is the enemy of happiness. Why this works. Even when life is hard. Hard days don't eliminate small moments. They just make them harder to notice. And that's when they matter most. Happiness during hard times doesn't mean feeling good about the pain. It means finding steadiness inside the pain. A calm center, a grounded breath. A reminder that you are still here. Still capable. Still allowed to experience peace. Even briefly. You don't need to fix everything today. One of the greatest barriers to happiness is the belief that everything must be solved before you're allowed to feel okay. That belief keeps happiness hostage. You don't need your whole life figured out to feel a moment of peace. You don't need certainty to feel calm. You don't need answers to feel grounded. You need permission to rest your mind, permission to stop scanning for danger, permission to feel okay. Even if things are unfinished. A gentle truth. Happiness doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you're only listening for fireworks, you'll miss it. But when you learn to listen differently, those whispers become a steady presence in your life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to stay emotionally balanced when your thoughts try to pull you into fear, regret, or worry about the future. Because learning to be happy every day also means learning how to live inside the present moment, even when the present isn't perfect. That's where real peace begins. Chapter 4. How to stay present when your mind wants to escape. Your mind rarely stays where your body is. It drifts backward into regret. It jumps forward into worry. It imagines conversations that haven't happened yet. It replays moments that are already over. And when your mind leaves the present, happiness goes with it. Because happiness does not live in the past or the future. It lives here. But here is often uncomfortable. Here is uncertain. Here is unfinished. Here is real. So the mind escapes. Why the present moment feels uncomfortable? The present moment asks something of you. It asks you to feel what you're feeling, without distraction. It asks you to face what's true, without narrative. It asks you to exist, without guarantees. The future offers hope. The past offers familiarity. The present offers honesty. And honesty can feel heavy when life is hard. That's why the mind runs. Not because you're weak, but because you're protecting yourself from discomfort. How escaping the present creates unhappiness. When your mind lives in the future, you feel anxious. When your mind lives in the past, you feel regret. When your mind lives anywhere but now, you feel disconnected. Disconnection is not dramatic. It's subtle. It feels like numbness, restlessness, a quiet dissatisfaction you can't quite name. You're alive, but not fully here. And happiness requires presence. Presence is not forcing. Positivity being present doesn't mean loving the moment. It means allowing the moment. Even if it's boring, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's imperfect. Presence says, this is what's happening right now, and I'm still here. That sentence alone stabilizes the nervous system, a simple way to return to the present. When your thoughts start racing, don't fight them. Instead, ask, what can I feel right now? Not emotionally, physically. Your feet on the floor, the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breath. The body always lives in the present. When you bring attention to it, the mind follows. Why this creates calm. The brain cannot panic when it feels grounded. Grounding tells your system, I am here, I am safe enough, I am not being chased. Even when life is uncertain, that message matters. Because happiness is not excitement, it is settledness. You don't need to stay present. All the time, presence is not a permanent state. It's a practice. You drift, you notice, you return, again and again and again. Each return builds resilience. Each return trains your mind to stop running at the first sign of discomfort. And slowly, the present becomes less threatening, more livable, more peaceful. The unexpected gift of the present moment. When you stay present, even briefly, you notice something surprising. The moment is rarely as bad as your thoughts made it seem. The pain is there. The difficulty is real. But so is your ability to breathe through it. So is your capacity to endure. So is your quiet strength. Happiness doesn't mean the absence of pain. It means realizing you can be present with pain, without collapsing. And that realization changes everything. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to stop being emotionally hijacked by negative thoughts, not by suppressing them, but by understanding how they actually work. Because happiness grows when thoughts stop controlling your emotional state. And that shift is closer than you think. Chapter 5. How to stop your thoughts from controlling your happiness. Most people believe their thoughts are facts. They hear a thought and assume it must be true. I'm falling behind. Something is wrong with me. I'll never figure this out. This shouldn't be this hard. And just like that, a thought becomes a mood. A mood becomes a day. A day becomes a life pattern. But here is the truth most people never learn. You don't suffer because of your thoughts. You suffer because you believe every thought. Thoughts are not commands. They are not prophecies. They are mental events, passing signals in the brain. Happiness begins the moment you stop treating thoughts as authority. Why the mind creates negative thoughts. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. It scans for danger. It predicts outcomes. It prepares you for loss. This is not a flaw. It's survival programming. But the brain does not distinguish between physical danger and emotional discomfort. Uncertainty feels like threat. Rejection feels like danger. Failure feels like extinction. So the mind speaks loudly. It exaggerates. It catastrophizes. It repeats worst-case scenarios, not because it hates you, but because it's trying to protect you. Unfortunately, protection often looks like anxiety. The mistake that keeps people stuck. The mistake is arguing with thoughts, telling yourself, "Don't think like that. That's stupid. I shouldn't feel this way." This creates resistance, and resistance gives thoughts more power. What you resist persists. What you observe loosens. A different relationship with your thoughts. Instead of asking, "Is this thought true?" ask, "Is this thought useful?" That question changes everything. A thought can be true and still unhelpful. A thought can be false and still emotionally convincing. Usefulness matters more than accuracy. If a thought increases fear, shame, or paralysis, it doesn't deserve control over your mood. The skill of mental distance. When a thought appears, try this. Instead of saying, "I'm failing," say, "I'm having the thought that I'm failing." That single sentence creates space. You're no longer inside the thought. You're observing it. And observation breaks identification. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness noticing them. Why this creates emotional freedom. When thoughts lose authority, emotions soften. Fear becomes information instead of panic. Sadness becomes a feeling instead of an identity. Doubt becomes a signal instead of a verdict. You stop spiraling, and happiness becomes possible, even when difficult thoughts appear. You don't need to eliminate negative thoughts. Trying to eliminate negative thoughts creates more stress. The goal is not silence. The goal is non-attachment. Let thoughts pass. Let them come and go. Let them exist without obedience. This is emotional maturity. A daily practice for thought awareness. Once a day, notice your most common negative thought. Write it down. Then ask, "What does this thought want me to believe about myself?" Usually, the answer is harsh. Seeing it clearly weakens it. Awareness dissolves unconscious power. Why happiness returns. When thoughts lose power. When thoughts stop dictating your emotional state, something surprising happens. You feel lighter, not because life changed, but because the inner pressure eased. Happiness is not about thinking positive thoughts. It's about not letting negative thoughts decide your worth. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to stay emotionally balanced when life feels overwhelming. Not by numbing yourself, but by learning how to regulate your nervous system gently and consistently. This is where happiness stops feeling fragile and starts feeling resilient. Chapter 6. How to Stay Calm. When life feels overwhelming. There are moments when everything feels like too much, too many responsibilities, too many emotions, too many unanswered questions. Your chest feels tight. Your thoughts speed up. Your patience disappears, and happiness feels impossible, not because you don't want it, but because your system is overloaded. This chapter is about what to do in those moments, not later, not when life settles down, but right in the middle of overwhelm. Because happiness during hard times is not about avoiding stress. It's about learning how to come back to calm again and again. Why overwhelm happens. Overwhelm is not a personal failure. It's a nervous system response. When demands exceed your perceived capacity, your body shifts into survival mode. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Thoughts turn urgent and catastrophic. Your system is saying, I don't feel safe right now. You cannot think your way out of this state. You must regulate your way out. Happiness requires a regulated nervous system. You cannot feel peaceful while your body believes you are in danger. This is why positive thinking fails during overwhelm. The mind cannot relax until the body feels safe. So the first step is not mindset. It is physiology. The fastest way to calm your system: slow breathing, not deep breathing. Slow breathing. Inhale through your nose. Exhale longer than you inhale. Longer exhales signal safety. Even 1 minute of this begins to shift your nervous system out of panic mode. This is not a trick. It is biology. Why slowing down feels wrong. When overwhelmed, slowing down feels dangerous. Your mind says, I don't have time to calm down. I need to fix this now. I'll fall behind. But rushing keeps you trapped. Calm does not make you less effective. It makes you clear, and clarity is always faster than panic. The power of naming the state. Say this quietly. I am overwhelmed, not I'm failing. I can't handle this. I'm weak. Just I am overwhelmed. Naming the state reduces its intensity because you stop fighting it, and what you stop fighting begins to soften. Reduce, don't resolve. In overwhelm, your job is not to solve everything. Your job is to reduce intensity. One step, one task, one breath. Ask, what is the smallest helpful action I can take right now? Small actions restore agency. Agency restores calm. Calm restores happiness. Why you need rest. Even when you feel busy, rest is not a reward for finishing everything. It is a requirement for functioning. Overwhelmed people believe they must earn rest. Calm people understand rest creates capacity. 5 minutes of stillness can change the entire day. A gentle truth about happiness. Happiness does not require your life to be under control. It requires your nervous system to feel safe. That safety can be practiced again and again and again. And each time you return to calm, you prove something important to yourself. I can handle this moment. That belief builds resilience. And resilience is the foundation of long-term happiness. In the next chapter, we'll talk about one of the most overlooked keys to daily happiness: self-compassion. Not self-pity, not excuses, but the ability to treat yourself with kindness when life is hard. That shift changes everything. Chapter 7. Self-compassion. The skill that makes happiness sustainable. Most people believe they would be happier if they were harder on themselves, more disciplined, more demanding, more self-critical. They think kindness will make them lazy. They think softness will make them weak. They think compassion is something you earn after success. But the truth is the opposite. People who lack self-compassion are not stronger. They are exhausted. And exhaustion is one of the biggest barriers to happiness. Why you're harder on yourself than anyone else. Think about how you speak to yourself on a hard day. The tone, the words, the judgment. You should be doing better. Why can't you handle this? Everyone else seems fine. What's wrong with you? You would never speak this way to someone you love. Yet your mind uses this language constantly, not because you're cruel, but because you learned that pressure equals progress. It doesn't. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates avoidance. Avoidance destroys happiness. Self-compassion is not letting yourself off the hook. Self-compassion is not excuse-making. It does not say, this doesn't matter. You don't need to try. It's okay to give up. Self-compassion says, this is hard, and I'm still worthy of care. I can be kind to myself and keep moving forward. Kindness does not remove accountability. It makes accountability sustainable. Why harsh self-talk makes life feel heavier. Harsh self-talk keeps your nervous system in a constant state of threat. Your body doesn't know the difference between external criticism and internal attack. Criticism signals danger, so your system stays tense, alert, defensive, and a tense system cannot feel happy. How self-compassion creates emotional safety. When you respond to struggle with kindness, something shifts. Your body relaxes. Your breath slows. Your mind softens. You feel safe with yourself. And when you feel safe internally, happiness doesn't feel risky. You don't fear losing it. You don't fear enjoying the moment. You don't fear being present. A simple self-compassion practice. Next time you notice yourself struggling, try this. Place a hand on your chest. Breathe. And say quietly, "This is hard. I'm allowed to struggle. I'm still doing my best." It may feel awkward at first. That's okay. You're learning a new language, the language of inner support. Why this works on a deep level. Your nervous system responds to warmth, gentle touch, kind tone, reassuring words. These signals activate calm, and calm is the gateway to happiness, not excitement, not achievement. Calm, self-compassion, changes how you fail. Without self-compassion, failure feels personal, final, devastating. With self-compassion, failure feels informative, temporary, human. You recover faster, you learn more, you suffer less, and happiness becomes more stable, even when things don't go your way. You don't need to earn kindness. This is the belief that keeps people stuck. They think, "I'll be kind to myself when I improve, when I'm stronger, when I get it right." But kindness is not a reward. It is a foundation. You build happiness on top of self-compassion, not after it. A quiet truth. The people who are happiest long-term are not those who never fail. They are those who know how to be gentle with themselves when they do. And that gentleness keeps them going. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to create happiness through meaning, even when joy feels distant, and why meaning often matters more than pleasure. This is where happiness deepens. If this audiobook resonated with you, let it be a promise. Not to be happy all the time, but to stop abandoning yourself when life gets hard. If a line stayed with you, share it. If a chapter helped you breathe easier, remember it. If you want to continue this journey, tell me what topic you want next. Because happiness is not a destination you arrive at once. It's a way you walk, every single day. And now, you know how to walk it.